Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we got something a little bit different for you. It's not going to be our normal Janna top, but we're going to be doing a guide for Janna support. Janna is one of the best peel and disengage supports and any champion in all of League of Legends. And if you do master her properly, she can be one of the best setup champions in all of League of Legends. So let's get right into the video. Alright, so moving on to Janna's first ability is her Q, which the more you charge up her tornado, the more damage it does and the longer the distance. It also reduces the E cooldown when knocking up an enemy champion. Pinging where your tornado is going to go is super crucial if you want your team to follow up on your plays, and this is what sets apart from a good Janna and a great Janna. It also allows you to cancel out dashes such as Camille E, J4 EQ, Pantheon W, Leona E, Nautilus Q, and much more. You can also cancel the animation of Janna's Q with other abilities so that the enemy has a harder time of seeing it. For example, if they are in a fight, the last thing they are going to worry about is the quote enchanter player that only shields and heals. But if you predict the enemy when your invisible Q animation that is fully charged, that is a huge setup for your team. If you charge up Janna's Q in a bush, it will not be seen by the enemy unless you show yourself outside of the bush. Then it will be seen. But if you predict where the enemy will go before you show yourself, which reveals their tornado, you can set up for some amazing plays. Alright, so in this clip we have me and Karthus chasing down this Kiana. Our presence forces her to back off. We know that we can kill her with our autos and our E, so I put my tornado farther away, which actually predicts her dash and kills her. Here's a very crucial thing about Janna. So when you are getting chased or when your teammates are getting chased, you want to predict onto where they're actually going to go so you can charge up a fully charged tornado. So if you want to put it behind you, so you directly to where you're actually going, so the enemy thinks that you're just going to automatically cast it if you throw it straight at them, but you're not. This allows for a longer duration of a knockup, and honestly this makes or breaks team fights, and you can honestly win more games like this. You just have to predict the enemy team and you get better at it over time. Alright, so moving on to Janna's W. Janna deals bonus magic damage to 30% of her movement speed. It also reduces her E cooldown when casted to an enemy, and it can be used as an auto cancel, so incorporating auto W auto and also using your E and Q in between those as well. Alright, moving on to Janna's E. Janna's E provides shielding power and bonus attack damage when the shield is still actively up and has not been destroyed. Janna's E cooldown gets reduced from QWR Glacial, and you heard it from me, red buff. Red buff is so good on Janna, and I'll explain that later on. Glacial is a slow, so the initial QR, if someone is on Glacial, it removes the cooldown from the ability. Glacial also provides some additional stats such as 9% heal per 10% heal and shield power, AP attack damage, and it also reduces the enemy damage by 15% against your allies. Now here where the good part comes in. Red buff. A lot of people don't know this, but this is such a secret tech for Janna. Whenever you have red buff, please give it to Janna if she's ahead. Or even if she's not ahead, if she's providing a lot of peel, give it to her. Because each auto attack slows. Just that's how red buff is, right? So if it slows, it reduces her E cooldown. So each auto reduces her E cooldown, so she can have 2 to 3 E's up at once with casting Q and R at the same time. You can keep on casting E on someone so they never lose that shield. So if you have a hyper carry, just keep on casting E. Moving on to Janna's R. Janna's R is good for knocking back enemies, of course. You can also knock enemies into your Q. It also heals minions, so if you're going for the next push or you're going for a tower dive or just pushing the tower and only have like a couple minions left, cast your ult. It literally heals them so you can get the full push in. It also reduces your E cooldown, and if you want to know more about tips and tricks about Janna, I do have them on my PowerPoint, which I'll link in the bio. moving on to ruins, we have our first one, which is going up against dive comp. So against dive comps, I go glacial, magical footwear into triple tonic, cosmic insight. In the secondary, I go resolve, font of life, revitalize, CDR, adaptive force, and health scaling. I always like health scaling. I never really go flat because I just know how to play my early game. But if you are having a bit more trouble playing your early game, definitely go just the base health. I go Glacial Augment for the dive, of course, more peel. But if you guys are running dive, if you have a dive comp, I go approach velocity because it helps with staying in pace with your team. And I would normally go biscuits instead of triple tonic, but since biscuits got changed, I switched it over to triple tonic. So that is against dive. Alright, so next we got a rune page where you kind of have to match the realm of the other support. Let's say it's a bard or something. I go like full movement speed. So you can go either Comet or Airy. I usually go Comet. Then after I go Mana Flow, Celerity into Water Walking. After my secondary, I go Zombie Ward and Relentless Hunter into an Adaptive Force, Movement Speed, and Scaling. I do this because Celerity, Celerity gives me more movement speed based on the other movement speed stats that I have. It also provides Water Walking, so Water Walking um, gets more movement speed when you're in the river. And also Relentless Hunter works with all of these, which is good. This movement speed rune works with everything else, so it's kind of just full movement speed. I also just go Zombie Ward because if I am going to be roaming, I am going to be clearing wards a lot, so Zombie Ward is useful there. And I go Comet for the damage. Next, if you're playing side by side with your ADC, I go something a bit more unique. So if you're going with like a Samira, Nyla, stuff like that, or you're playing like really side by side with them, what I normally like to do is that I go Guardian because I'm close to them, Font of Life, more lifesteal, Bone Plating because I'm most likely gonna be where the enemy is. I go Revitalize, more heal and shield, and after I also go Cheap Shot and Relentless Hunter into CDR, Adaptive into Scaling Health. I go this just because I am going to be very close to my ally and getting as much damage out as possible while being beside them is why I go Cheap Shot. Font of Life for more healing and also for my teammate as well. Revitalize, more healing. Guardian gets procced easy. So that's why I go this when I'm playing kind of side by side with my ADC. Moving on to early game presence type of Janna. We are going to be going Arcane Comet, Mana Flow, Celerity, Scorch, Cheap Shot, and Relentless Hunter into double adaptive and scaling health. So with this type of ruins, you can also go health, just like base health because you're playing for the early game. You go Comet early game, Scorch early game, Celerity. As we know for Janna's passive, movement speed equals damage on her, so Celerity is good. We go double adaptive because the more damage you get early, the better. This movement speed percentage works better later on, so we want to be as much early game as possible, so double adaptive is good. Cheap Shot works on your W and your Q, and Relentless Hunter is good in general because it gives you permanent stats for movement speed. So that is the early game presence for Janna, which works really good if you're like with a Jhin or something like that. If you're just playing very early, like with a Draven, and you're against squishy people, I'd recommend going this build. Moving on to our last ruin page, we got our classic enchanter. So if you are also against poke, you can also go this ruin. So what it is, it's summon Airy, mana flow, transcendence, gathering storm into Fonts of Life and Revitalize, CDR, Adaptive, and Scaling. So with this, your E, works with your Airy, Transcendence, more CDR over here. You're probably gonna go Lucidity Boots here. Gathering Storm is just, for that scaling type of plays because Scorch, you're not really gonna do much with it because you're not maxing W. So Gathering Storm is just good, so it provides more shielding later on into the game with AP. We go Font of Life here, just for more healing for your allies. Revitalize, same thing, and that is your classic Enchanter build that I normally go. I just want to say that these ruins are very specific, so it honestly just depends on what your team comp is, how you play the game, the enemy team comp. But honestly, you can literally just thrive with the classic Enchanter build, which is the last one I showed you, and just the early game presence Janna, which is the Arcane Comet one, the early game presence, the second last one that I sent you, that I showed you guys. So you can honestly just do those two, or if you want to add the glacial one, you can. But it's honestly just specific to what's happening in your game and how you like to play. So you guys can just choose on what you like and go off that. On to summoner spells, I go flash always, and after I also go heal, exhaust, or ignite, just depending on the situation. Alright, so here's a super cool trick for you guys. So, what you can actually do that not a lot of people know, and you heard it from me, is that you can buy and sell support items midway through the game. So, let's say you are falling behind and you guys are losing, and you go Celestial Opposition. And then, after later on into the game, you have a Fed Cogma and you want to support him to the maximum. What you do is that you can sell your Celestial Opposition for 160 gold, and then you can purchase a new support item for 400 gold. And you can literally just keep on doing this. So Celestial Opposition to Zack Zack, Celestial Opposition to the Blood Song, or Blood Song into Dreammaker, Dreammaker into Blood Song. It literally doesn't matter. You can purchase any support item anytime you want to sell it for 160, buy it for 400, and you can leave the base whenever you want and come back and switch it. So you can literally adapt to your situation for the type of game that you are playing. And honestly, not a lot of people know this, so you did hear it from me, and it's honestly such a cool tool. All right, moving on to item sets. We have the first item set against dive comp. So what the first item I usually like to go is Redemption because it does provide some health for yourself, and if you can utilize it properly, it is honestly one of the best support items in the game. Next item is Moonstone. Moonstone is pretty basic, but it's really good on Janna, so I don't mind going it. And if you do have someone ahead on your team, of course, Ardent Censer or Staff of Flowing Water, depending on who it is. The next items that I really like to go though against dive comp is Locket because it provides some stability for yourself and for your team as well with the shield if you guys are clumped up together. The next item is Mikhail's. I do love going this item, especially if I have like one good carry. But if the enemy team has CC, I go this so they don't have to go QSS. And this can be placed literally second item, third item. It can literally be placed anywhere. I just really like the item and I feel like it's very underused. And so that is it for Against Dive. Next, we're going to be going to the item set for matching the roam. I also wanted to note that when you're playing against Dive, the support item that you can go is honestly almost any. If you guys need to provide a little bit more movement speed, the Solstice Slay one is pretty good. If you're going against Dive and you just don't want to die, Celestial Opposition is good. And of course, Dreammaker, it's pretty basic, and that's also good as well. But now with when you're trying to build items for matching the roam, you can go Zack Zacks, you can go Dreammaker, you can go. Those two are basically probably the most popular ones for the matching the roam. You can go the Slay one as well to provide more movement speed, but Zack Zacks and Dreammaker is pretty good there. Our first couple items that we can possibly choose is Shirelia's, more movement speed, Imperial Mandate for more damage, and Redemption, of course, because you are moving around a lot. Let's say your bot lane gets dove, you can actually provide heal without actually being there, so it's like a mini Soraka ult, so that's good. And I would probably go Swiftness Boots here, and so that's probably like my core build right there. And of course, you can go Moonstone, Helia, Ardent Sensor, Staff of Flowing Water. Honestly, whatever works best for you and your team. Alright, so the next item set is about playing side by side with your ADC. So when it comes to this types of situation, Moonstone or Helia, first and second item is honestly probably the way to go. It doesn't matter which one, whatever suits best for the type of game that you're playing. After that, I would go Dawn Core just to enhance that healing and shielding power. Lucidity Boots for cooldown, and I'd also recommend Mikhail's as well. And if you're playing with your ADC, most ADCs would prefer Ardent Sensor over Staff of Flowing Water, so this would probably be the core build. And Dreammaker is probably the best support item for your ADC. Maybe if it's a Samira, you can go uh, Solstice Slay, because if she wants to catch up to people, that's also a good item. So either or is good, but this is the core. After you can also go these for substitutional stuff. Alright, moving on to our early game damage item set. With this, you would probably go a Dark Seal because you are playing for the kill, and this is usually you're playing this build because you usually are ahead. And you would go Swiftness Boots. You can go Mandate, and if you need to catch up to people, Shirelles is always a good item. And honestly, you can go anything. You can even go like a Luden's Echo or a Lichbane if you're really ahead and you want to be spicy with it. But this is usually the core, and you would go Zax, and that's possibly the build. It's very basic, but it provides a lot of damage, and you have some scaling with Darkseal. Alright, moving on to our final item set, which is Classic Enchanter. With this, you would do Helia Moonstone or vice versa. Then you would also go Ardent Sensor. This is just like a core build, and you can also go Dawn Core. And so this is your core build, and then after, of course, Dreammaker. Very basic, but very effective, and those are all the item sets. Alright, and that was everything for my Janna guide. I hope you guys did enjoy. I do coaching if you guys would like that, and just shoot me a message on Discord, join my server, and then shoot me a message. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe, comment down below what you guys want to see next, and take care. Have a wonderful day.